All right, so I'm making potato gnocchi. I'm Chef Brian Crow here at Chestnut. So it's a pretty simple recipe. It's a classic kind of Italian potato pasta dish, if you will, made with potatoes. That's kind of hence the gnocchi. So what we got here is 5 Idaho potatoes. You want to cook those off 375 degrees in the oven for about 1 hour. You just want to pierce them and then heavily salt the tray. You can kind of see the tray is very heavily salted. Good standard ratio is 1 egg yolk per potato, and about a half cup, maybe a little bit more, give or take, on all-purpose flour. So we're going to incorporate the 5 egg yolks in with the grated potatoes and then the all-purpose flour, and that'll make our dough. Start off by opening these up. They're going to be really hot, so it's important to wear gloves. Shake some of that salt off. Basically, you just want to get all this goodness from the potatoes inside into this ricer. There's smaller potato ricers, obviously. This one's kind of a commercial. You could make some nice potato skins if you wanted, with the skins themselves, or you can just discard them, either or. So it's important to pull these potatoes right out of the oven and rice them right away. If you let the potatoes sit, they'll actually get sticky, the starchiness from the potato, and it won't make a good dough. So it's really important to get these potatoes out when they're nice and hot. The salt actually keeps the potato dry, which is a kind of a tip that's important. All right, this off the side. And rice these potatoes. All right, so we got our rice potato. You want extra flour for dusting. It's really important. We're going to go ahead and put our rice potato down. Okay, it's still hot, which is good. Chop it up slightly. Going to add some flour to it. Go ahead and incorporate our egg yolks. Like I said, about 1 egg yolk per potato. It's a good ratio. And then you want to incorporate these egg yolks into the dough. You want to work fast. Another important note is you want to pull these egg yolks out ahead of time so that they don't actually cook with the potatoes. You want to temper the egg yolks by setting them out right before you kind of put the potatoes in. Go ahead and crack your egg yolks. You want to make sure you're using whole large eggs. All right, so you got nice, kind of turns yellowish, the dough itself. All right, so like I said, about a half cup flour per potato. Typically it ends up being about half the amount of flour to potato ratio, if that helps too. Sometimes you have to add a little bit more in. Sometimes you have to take a little bit out. So it's like any dough, you kind of want it, you don't want to overwork the dough. You want to make sure that you're incorporating it, but also not overworking it. This bench scraper will get kind of sticky on you. Just add a little flour and you should be able to pull it all off. You want a nice clean bench scraper to get nice gnocchi marks. All right, so at this point you can kind of start working it with your hands. Go ahead and take my gloves off. A little more manageable. So pasta is unique because when you're making it, you know, either if you do the well format or what, it tends to feel like things are going wrong and it's not coming together. And sure enough, it ends up coming together. So you just got to trust your ratio. just kind of go with your instincts a little bit too. All right, so it just kind of soaked up all that flour, which is good. Kind of want it to be a little bit sticky, not too sticky though. Just kind of where you can kind of springs back a little bit when you touch the dough. All right, so I like to create like a larger log. Go ahead and flour it up again and flour it one more time. All right, so this is our dough base. You want to try to keep it warm while you're making the dough. So we're gonna put this this towel over the dough. All right, so at this point, got your dough made. Go ahead and start rolling your gnocchis. Put that off to the side. Again, you want to flour the board every time. Take off a piece of the dough. Kind of toss it in your hand a little bit. Kind of mold it down into a rope. It takes some time. You have to kind of really mold it with your hands. Kind of almost have to like push it out. The key here when making this is you want your hands flat, kind of like a rolling pin. So when you're doing this, start from the middle and then you'll kind of see how the log kind of gets nice and long. So it's important to kind of start from the middle, kind of like push your way out, and you'll see the log get kind of, if one side gets a little heavier, you just kind of work the other side. Or thinner, you can work it back in if you need to. So a good rule of thumb is what I like to do is just kind of measure your thumb with the gnocchi. We like to go, you know, slightly smaller, more like a pinky. It's a little broken, that's okay. We can fold that back in later. All right, so at this point, you just kind of want to start making your cuts. I like to kind of like use my two fingers, my index and my thumb to kind of pinch these gnocchis, and you kind of get these nice little indentions that really looks nice with the final plate. It's kind of like you are cutting something. Just want to make sure they're nice and consistent. Part of doing the indentions is you get the same size gnocchi every time. See that I'm kind of pushing each gnocchi to one other side. It'll kind of stick on the bottom, so. All right, so that's your first roll of gnocchi. All right, so now we're gonna blanch our potato gnocchis. You want a pot of salted boiling water. The key here is a lot of salt. You want it to kind of taste like the ocean. So, you know, when you put those gnocchis in there to kind of blanch, it kind of seasons them. So really heavily salted water is nice and at a boil right now. We got our potato gnocchis and you want an ice bath. I'm just gonna kind of add the gnocchis in increments. You want the water to kind of stay at a boil. So we'll probably add about half this. You want to give it a quick stir because sometimes they will kind of stick to the bottom. This is my favorite part, is watching them kind of float to the top. So what makes that happen is the egg yolk and flour combination. It's kind of creates that pasta. You got to be a little patient. Alright, so we're just going to kind of toss this gently. You got your beautiful gnocchis. We got our beautiful pasta gnocchi kind of blanched off. We got it nice and oiled. You want to start a saute pan over medium heat. We got a nice grilled zucchini puree here. It's kind of like zucchini and basil. We char up the zucchini on the grill, kind of cook it down with some fennel and onions and garlic, a little cream, butter, and basil. So you get a nice flavorful zucchini puree. So that's going to anchor our plate. We got a nice hot pan. So again, we pan fry our gnocchis. You want to make sure you kind of like get some nice caramelization. So the key here is to kind of don't move your gnocchis around. I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper. Anytime you're cooking at home, you always want to try to season in increments. You'll build a lot better flavor. All right, you got some good caramelization on there. Kind of exactly what you're looking for. So we like to add some garlic and shallots. Why am I adding it now versus before? It's because you don't want that to kind of burn and get bitter. You kind of incorporate that garlic and shallot, get some really nice aromatics. Again, just another little sprinkle of seasoning. Then we like to add some roasted oyster mushrooms. So these are locally cultivated oyster mushrooms. This is a vegetarian dish. That's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and build our plate. Like I said, I got this really nice grilled zucchini puree. That's gonna go down first. Kind of anchor it. You can toss it in with the gnocchi if you want. We kind of think it's a nice thing to do afterwards because you kind of get a nice crispy gnocchi. We're gonna kind of nestle these little gnocchis right in. See that beautiful caramelization we got going on. Those mushrooms. Okay. So to finish this plate, we are going to add some watermelon radish. This is really great this time of year. Beautiful, nice spring colors going on. Some pickled asparagus. We do some lemon, kind of a lemon ricotta mixed here. I like to just kind of put a couple different scoops down. Okay. Always add more if you like. I'm just going to do a nice little pile of these microgreens. Kind of right center. There you go. There's our gnocchi from Chestnut. Hope you enjoy.